The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as the final vote was cast. Ambassador Jin-Woo Park sat in the human delegation chair, his face showing no emotion as he watched the display board light up with results. Every single species had voted yes. All 47 member races of the galaxy supported the motion to enslave humanity. The Zephyrians cast the last vote. They had been Earth's closest friends for 20 years. They had traded with humans, shared technology, and even invited human children to study on their homeworld. Now their representative stood tall on 6 insect-like legs and announced their decision. The Zephyrian Empire votes yes. Humanity will serve the greater good of the galaxy as a labor species. Jin-Woo Park closed his eyes for a moment. 20 years of diplomacy had led to this moment. 20 years of humanity trying to find their place among the stars, only to discover that every species saw them the same way. Humans were useful. Humans were smart enough to follow complex orders, but humans were weak. The council leader, a massive creature covered in crystal formations, spoke in a voice that echoed through the hall. The vote is unanimous. By galactic law, the species known as humanity will be classified as a labor resource. Their homeworld will be occupied, and their population will be distributed among member species according to need. Jin-Woo Park stood up slowly. The other ambassadors watched him with mixed expressions. Some looked guilty. Others seemed bored, as if they had just voted on a trade agreement instead of the fate of 8 billion people. Distinguished members of the council, Jin-Woo Park began, his voice calm and steady. You have made your choice clear. Every species in this galaxy believes that humanity should be enslaved. We understand. Jin-Woo Park says, we understand. The reptilian delegate hissed softly. Humanity will be treated well. You will have food, shelter, and purpose. Many species would envy such security. Jin-Woo Park looked around the hall one last time. These aliens had visited Earth as friends. Humans had welcomed them with open arms, eager to join the galactic community. Children had learned alien languages. Scientists had shared discoveries freely. Artists had created beautiful works celebrating the diversity of species in the galaxy. It had all been a lie. From the very beginning, these species had been studying humanity not as potential friends, but as potential property. Ambassador Park, the council leader said, do you have any final words before the enforcement fleets depart for your homeworld? Jin-Woo Park smiled, but there was something cold in his expression that made several aliens step back. Yes, I want you all to remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice. You could have chosen friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect. Instead, you chose to make humanity your slaves because you believed we were too weak to resist. The gaseous being that represented the cloud entities floated closer. Humanity is weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. Your military is small and divided. We have studied your species for 2 decades. You have no choice but to accept your fate. You studied us very carefully. Jin-Woo Park agreed. You visited our cities, our schools, our military bases. You learned about our culture, our technology, our capabilities, or at least, you learned what we wanted you to learn. Several delegates exchanged glances. There was something in the humans' tone that worried them. What do you mean by that? The Zephyrian representative asked. Jin-Woo Park picked up his briefcase and walked toward the exit. You will understand soon enough. When your fleets arrive at Earth, you will discover that humanity has been preparing for this day since the moment we first met you. We knew this would happen. We knew that if you saw us as weak, you would try to enslave us. So we showed you exactly what you wanted to see. The hall erupted in confused chatter. The council leader's crystal formations glowed brighter as he spoke. Are you suggesting that humanity has been deceiving us? Lone. Incanted him, with a fine watch, and won. I am saying that you made your choice based on incomplete information. Jin-Woo Park replied. Every species in this galaxy looked at humanity and saw slaves. We looked at every species in this galaxy and saw potential enemies. We prepared accordingly. The massive doors of the council hall opened, and Jinwoo Park walked toward them. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. As he reached the threshold, he turned back one final time. You want to enslave 8 billion humans because you think we are weak and helpless. By all means, proceed with your plan. Send your fleets to Earth. Try to land your troops. Try to occupy our world. You will discover that your intelligence about humanity was incomplete. The crystalline leader's voice boomed across the hall. Is that a threat? Human? Jinwoo Park's smile grew wider, and every alien in the room felt a chill despite themselves. No. It is a promise. You have made your choice. Now humanity will make theirs. He walked through the doors without looking back. 2 hours later, the enforcement fleets launched from bases across the galaxy. 47 different species contributed ships, troops, and weapons to the largest military operation in galactic history. They were going to Earth to collect their new slaves. On Earth, President Chen received the transmission from the Galactic Council. She stood in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House, surrounded by military advisors and government officials. The message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. President Chen looked at her advisors. General Thompson nodded grimly. Director Kim of the intelligence agency gave a thumbs up. Admiral Johnson smiled coldly. Send the reply, President Chen ordered. The response was broadcast to the entire galaxy. President Chen appeared on screen, looking tired and defeated. Earth surrenders to the will of the Galactic Council. We will not resist your occupation forces. Humanity accepts its fate as a labor species. Across the galaxy, alien leaders nodded in satisfaction. The humans had accepted reality. This would be easier than expected. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in vast underground complexes that had been hidden for decades, alarms began to sound. Admiral Lee Min-jun stood in the main command center, watching displays that showed every approaching alien fleet. Phase 1 is complete, he announced to his staff. The aliens believe we are surrendering. All sleeper agents are in position across the galaxy. Our people have been placed exactly where we need them to be. A young officer looked up from her console. Sir, should we activate the surface defenses? Admiral Lee shook his head. Not yet. Let them land. Let them think they have won. When they realize the truth, it will be too late for them to retreat. High above them, the first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. Their sensors showed a peaceful planet with no military resistance. Cities full of humans who seemed to be waiting calmly for their new masters. It looked exactly like what they expected from a defeated, primitive species. They had no idea what was waiting for them in the depths below. 3 years had passed since the galaxy enslaved humanity. The alien species congratulated themselves on solving what they called the human problem. 8 billion humans now worked across the galaxy as laborers, soldiers, and servants. Earth itself had become a supply depot, managed by a joint alien administration. Dr. Sarah Kim adjusted her medical scanner as she moved through the worker dormitory on Zephyr Prime. To her alien supervisors, she was just another human slave with useful medical knowledge. They had assigned her to keep the other human workers healthy and productive. What they did not know was that Dr. Kim was much more than a simple doctor. How are you feeling today, Mr. Chen? She asked an elderly man lying on a narrow bed. The Zephyrian guards paid no attention to her routine medical checks. My back hurts, Mr. Chen replied in English, but his hands moved in small gestures as he spoke. In the ancient Korean sign language that Sarah had taught the resistance network, he was actually saying, "The mining facility blueprints are complete. Guards change, shift every 6 hours. Weapon storage is on level 7. Sarah nodded and made notes on her medical pad. To watching aliens, she was recording his symptoms. In reality, she was documenting detailed intelligence about Zephyrian military installations. "Take these pills twice a day," she said aloud, handing him medication. But the pills contained more than medicine. Hidden inside were microtransmitters that would allow him to communicate with other human cells across the planet. This scene played out in thousands of locations across the galaxy. Humans worked in crystalline mining operations, where they mapped every tunnel and defensive position. They served as soldiers in reptilian armies, learning combat tactics and weapon specifications. They cleaned buildings for the gaseous entities, installing listening devices in government facilities. The aliens noticed that human workers were unusually efficient. Humans completed tasks faster than expected and rarely needed supervision. They seemed to work well together, even though they came from different parts of Earth and spoke different languages. Commander Zix of the Zephyrian Security Forces reviewed the latest reports from human worker facilities. Something bothered him, but he could not identify what it was. The humans were model slaves. They worked hard, caused no trouble, and even seemed grateful for their assignments. "The productivity numbers are impressive," his assistant noted. "Human workers consistently exceed performance targets by 15 to 20%. "Yes, but how?" Commander Zix asked. "They are supposed to be a primitive species, yet they adapt to our technology faster than any other workers we have used. Perhaps we underestimated their intelligence," the assistant suggested. "Or, maybe, slavery motivates them to work harder." Commander Zix was not satisfied. He had studied humans for years before the conquest. Their military technology had been laughably primitive. Their space travel capabilities were limited. Their weapons were crude chemical projectiles and simple energy weapons. Yet something felt wrong about the current situation. On the other side of the galaxy, humans working for the Silicon Brotherhood had similar conversations. Engineer Park Jin-ho pretended to struggle with the alien computer systems while secretly downloading complete technical specifications. To his robot supervisors, he appeared to be a slow learner who needed constant help accessing basic functions. In reality, Jin-ho had advanced degrees in computer science and engineering. He had helped design some of the systems he now pretended not to understand. Every day, he copied more data about Silicon Brotherhood technology, defensive networks, and production facilities. Human worker designation 7,742. A robot supervisor announced as Jin-ho worked. "Your efficiency has improved this week. Good adaptation to silicon systems." "Thank you, supervisor," Jin-ho replied humbly. "I am learning slowly but surely." The robot moved on to inspect other workers. Jin-ho returned to his console and continued his real work. He was not just copying technical data. He was also identifying weaknesses in every system he encountered. The Silicon Brotherhood built their technology with certain assumptions about how it would be used. They never considered that someone might deliberately look for ways to sabotage or destroy their networks. Back on Earth, the alien administration ran the planet like a supply depot. Most of the human population had been shipped off to other worlds, leaving only a few million to maintain basic infrastructure and produce resources. The aliens believed they had complete control over the human homeworld. They were wrong. Dr. Elizabeth Park worked in the medical research facility in Geneva, supposedly developing treatments for diseases that affected human workers. The alien administrators were proud of how well they cared for their human property. They even pointed to the medical research as evidence of their enlightened approach to slavery. Dr. Park was indeed researching diseases, but not the kind her supervisors expected. She was developing biological weapons, specifically designed to target each alien species. 20 years of studying alien biology during the friendship period had given human scientists detailed knowledge of how alien immune systems worked. Every sample the aliens had provided during trade negotiations had been secretly analyzed. Every alien diplomat who visited Earth had unknowingly provided biological data through simple medical scans. Humans had even collected genetic material from aliens who used human bathroom facilities or ate human food. The research was almost complete. Dr. Park had developed 47 different biological weapons, one for each species that had voted to enslave humanity. The weapons were designed to be highly contagious but only fatal to their specific target species. Humans and other alien races would be completely immune. As Dr. Park worked late into the night, her communication device buzzed with an encrypted message. She decoded it using a cipher based on ancient Korean poetry that no alien translator could understand. The message was simple but filled her with excitement. The children are coming home. Phase 2 begins in 30 days. Be ready. Dr. Park smiled as she deleted the message. Across the galaxy, hundreds of similar messages were being received by humans in every alien facility, ship, and government building. For 3 years, humanity had played the role of obedient slaves while secretly preparing for this moment. The aliens thought they had won. They celebrated their successful conquest and the abundant cheap labor that human slaves provided. They made plans for expanding their empires using human workers. Some species even discussed breeding programs to increase the human population for future use. None of them suspected that every human in the galaxy was actually a highly trained operative. None of them knew that humanity had spent 3 years mapping every alien weakness, copying every technology, and placing weapons in every important facility. The galaxy was about to learn that enslaving humanity had been the worst mistake in their history. But for now, the humans continued their performance as defeated slaves, counting down the days until they could reveal their true nature. In 30 days, the galaxy would discover that humanity had been playing a very long, very patient game. And now it was time for the final move. Admiral Lee Minjun stood in the command center 20 kilometers beneath the surface of Earth. Around him, thousands of officers worked at stations that monitored every corner of the galaxy. The massive screens showed alien fleets, human operative positions, and countdown timers for Operation Homecoming. The alien administrators on the surface had no idea what existed below their feet. For 3 years, they had controlled the surface cities and thought they ruled Earth. They never suspected that humanity's real civilization existed in underground complexes that stretched across continents. Admiral, Commander Park reported, all phase indicators are green. We have operatives in position at every major alien facility in the galaxy. Weapons are ready for deployment. Our fleet is prepared to launch. Admiral Lee nodded as he studied the displays. The planning for this moment had begun long before first contact with alien species. When humanity detected the first alien signals from deep space, they had made a crucial decision. They would prepare for the possibility that aliens might be hostile. Show me the surface deception status, Admiral Lee ordered. The main screen switched to views of Earth's surface cities. To alien eyes, everything looked normal. Humans went about their daily routines under alien supervision. Transportation systems moved resources to alien ships. Manufacturing plants produced goods for export to other worlds. It was all an elaborate performance. The cities were mostly empty shells maintained by a skeleton crew of human actors. The real human population lived in the vast underground complexes, working around the clock to prepare for this day. Admiral, Lieutenant Kim called out. We are receiving confirmation signals from all deep space monitoring stations. The aliens still have no idea that our real installations exist. This was humanity's greatest deception. When alien scouts first visited Earth, they saw exactly what humans wanted them to see. The military bases they toured were real, but they were the weakest facilities humanity possessed. The technology they examined was functional, but it was decades behind humanity's actual capabilities. While aliens studied primitive human weapons on the surface, the real military development happened in underground factories. Human scientists had spent 40 years developing technology specifically designed to counter every potential alien threat. Bring up the fleet status display, Admiral Lee commanded. The screen showed Earth's true military might. Hidden in underground launch bays and deep ocean trenches were thousands of starships. Each vessel was equipped with weapons designed to exploit the specific weaknesses of different alien species. The Crystalline Collective's ships relied on silicon-based computer systems. Human vessels carried electromagnetic pulse weapons, tuned to exactly the right frequency to destroy those systems instantly. Zephyrian ships used atmospheric processors to maintain their internal environment. Human weapons included atmospheric scrubbers that would make those ships uninhabitable within minutes. The Silicon Brotherhood built their vessels with quantum computing networks. Human hackers had developed viruses that would corrupt those networks and turn the robots against each other. For every alien technology that humans had pretended to admire during peaceful trade visits, they had secretly developed a counterweapon. For every alien weakness that they had discovered through careful observation, they had built tools of destruction. Admiral, Dr. Sarah Kim's voice came through the communication system from Zephyr Prime. This is Operative Kim, reporting from Sector 7. All targets have been identified and marked. We are ready to proceed on your signal. Admiral Lee smiled grimly. Dr. Kim and thousands like her had spent 3 years mapping every important alien facility in the galaxy. They knew where every weapon was stored, where every government leader worked, and where every critical system was located. Operative Kim, what is the status of the biological weapons? Deployment systems are in place, Admiral. We have confirmed delivery methods for all 47 species. The weapons are designed for maximum effectiveness and minimum collateral damage to other species. This was the part of the plan that Admiral Lee took no pleasure in. The biological weapons would kill billions of aliens. But humanity had learned a hard lesson about the price of being seen as weak. Never again would humans be vulnerable to galactic enslavement. All stations. This is Admiral Lee, he announced. In 60 minutes, we begin Operation Homecoming. For 3 years, we have waited. For 3 years, we have prepared. The galaxy chose to enslave us because they believed we were weak. Today, we show them the truth about humanity. Across the underground complex, thousands of officers and technicians prepared for the largest military operation in human history. This would not be a war of conquest. It would be a war of extermination. Admiral, Commander Park asked quietly, do you think we are doing the right thing? This will mean the end of most alien civilizations. Admiral Lee looked at the displays showing human slaves working in alien facilities across the galaxy. Children separated from their parents, families broken apart and scattered to different worlds. 8 billion people forced into slavery because every species in the galaxy had voted for their enslavement. Commander, they had a choice. Every single species could have voted for friendship, trade, and cooperation. Instead, they chose to make us their property. They made this decision unanimously. 47 species all agreed that humanity deserved slavery. Commander Park nodded slowly. And now, they will learn the consequences of that choice. Exactly. We offered them friendship first. They chose slavery instead. Now, they will receive justice. End quote. The countdown timers showed 50 minutes remaining. Around the galaxy, human operatives checked their weapons and confirmed their targets. On Earth, the massive underground fleet prepared to launch. Biological weapon deployment systems activated in alien cities across dozens of worlds. Admiral, Lieutenant Kim reported. We are detecting increased alien fleet movements near Earth. It appears they are planning to increase security around the homeworld. Too late? Admiral Lee replied. They should have increased security 3 years ago when they first arrived. Now it does not matter how many ships they bring. They have no idea what they are flying into. The alien fleets approaching Earth expected to find a conquered world full of submissive humans. They had no sensors capable of detecting the underground installations. Their intelligence reports showed no significant human military activity. They were about to learn that their intelligence was completely wrong. All operatives, this is command. Admiral Lee broadcast to the galaxy-wide network. Operation Homecoming commences in 30 minutes. Remember, show no mercy to those who showed us none. The galaxy chose to enslave humanity. Now, humanity chooses to free itself. The response came back from thousands of voices across dozens of worlds. Understood. Command. Ready to bring humanity home. Admiral Lee looked at the main display one final time. Soon, every alien species would learn why humanity had survived and thrived on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. They would discover that Earth had not made humans weak. It had made them the most lethal predators in the universe. The countdown continued. In 28 minutes, the galaxy would change forever. The attack began at exactly 0800 Earth Standard Time across 47 worlds simultaneously. Commander Park Jin-ho led the human fleet as it erupted from hidden launch bays beneath Earth's surface. To the alien occupation forces, it appeared as if the planet itself was attacking them. On Zephyr Prime, Dr. Sarah Kim dropped her medical scanner and pulled a pulse weapon from her supply case. Around her, dozens of other human slaves revealed identical weapons and began systematically eliminating their Zephyrian guards. The attack was so sudden and coordinated that the aliens had no time to raise alarms. Target the atmospheric control centers first. Sarah ordered her team as they moved through the facility. Then, communications. Then, the government complex. The Zephyrians had made a critical error. They had placed human workers in every important facility because humans were efficient and reliable. Now, those same humans used their intimate knowledge of Zephyrian systems to destroy them from within. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On the Silicon Brotherhood homeworld, engineer Park Jin-ho activated a virus he had been secretly installing in their quantum computer networks for 3 years. Every robot on the planet suddenly turned against their creators, following new programming that identified all Silicon Brotherhood units as enemies. In the Crystalline Collective's mining asteroid belt, human workers activated electromagnetic pulse devices that had been disguised as medical equipment. The pulse weapons were precisely tuned to the frequency of crystalline computer systems. Every ship, station, and defensive platform went dark instantly. The aliens had no warning and no time to prepare. For 3 years, they had lived with human operatives hidden among them. Now those operatives struck with devastating precision. This is Fleet Command to all human forces. Commander Park broadcast from his flagship as it approached Zephyr Prime. Phase 1 is complete. All major alien defensive systems are neutralized. Begin Phase 2 immediately. Phase 2 was the deployment of biological weapons. Across the galaxy, humans activated dispersal systems they had built into alien air circulation networks. The weapons were invisible, odorless, and incredibly contagious. They spread through alien populations like wildfire, but they were completely harmless to humans and other alien species. Each biological weapon was designed for maximum efficiency against its target species. The virus that affected Zephyrians attacked their respiratory system, causing death within hours. The weapon deployed against crystalline beings dissolved their silicon-based cellular structure. The pathogen designed for gaseous entities caused their molecular bonds to break down. Within 6 hours of the initial attack, the death toll reached into the billions. Entire alien species were facing extinction as their populations collapsed under the assault of diseases specifically engineered to kill them. The surviving alien leaders tried desperately to contact Earth and negotiate a surrender. They broadcast messages across all frequencies, begging for mercy and promising to free all human slaves immediately. Their transmissions went unanswered. Commander Park, his communication officer reported, "We are receiving surrender offers from 17 different species. They are asking for immediate ceasefire negotiations." Commander Park looked at the tactical display showing the systematic destruction of alien civilizations. "Ignore them. We offered negotiation 3 years ago. They chose slavery instead." The human fleet moved from system to system with methodical precision. They did not attempt to occupy alien worlds or capture resources. Their mission was simpler and more terrible: complete destruction of alien military and government capabilities. When alien fleets tried to engage human ships in battle, they discovered that their weapons were useless. Human vessels were equipped with shields specifically designed to counter every known alien weapon type. Meanwhile, human weapons cut through alien defenses like they were paper. The Reptilian Empire sent their most powerful battle group to defend their homeworld. Commander Park's fleet met them at the edge of the system. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. Human ships used weapons that exploited the Reptilians' dependence on heat-based energy systems. The alien vessels simply shut down as their power sources overheated and exploded. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim reported, "the Reptilian fleet is completely destroyed. We lost no ships and suffered no casualties." "Continue to the next target," Commander Park ordered. "We have 36 more species to visit." On Earth, Admiral Lee watched the progress reports with grim satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly. Every alien species was learning the same lesson. Humanity was not weak, and humanity did not forgive betrayal. "Admiral," Commander Park's voice came through the communication system from deep space. "We are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. The surviving members want to formally surrender and restore humanity's freedom." Admiral Lee considered this for a moment. The Galactic Council no longer existed in any meaningful sense. Most member species were extinct or facing extinction. The few survivors were scattered and powerless. "Tell them," Admiral Lee replied, "that humanity formally rejects their surrender. They had their chance to treat us as equals. They chose to make us slaves. Now they will face the consequences of that choice." The message was broadcast across the galaxy. Humanity would not accept surrender. The attack would continue until every species that had voted for human enslavement was eliminated as a threat. Some aliens tried to flee their homeworlds, but human ships tracked them down across interstellar space. Others attempted to hide in remote colonies, but human operatives had spent 3 years mapping every alien settlement. There was nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The Zephyrian High Command made one final desperate attempt to communicate with humanity. Ambassador Zix, the same official who had cast the deciding vote for human enslavement, appeared on screens across the galaxy. "Please," he begged. "We understand we made a mistake. We are sorry. We will do anything to make this right. Just tell us what you want, and we will give it to you." The response came from Jinwoo Park, the former human ambassador to the Galactic Council. His face appeared on every surviving alien communication system. "What we want," he said calmly, "is justice. 3 years ago, every species in this galaxy had a choice. You could have chosen friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect. Instead, you unanimously chose to enslave 8 billion human beings because you believed we were too weak to resist." Jinwoo Park's expression was cold and merciless. "You were wrong about our weakness. You were wrong about our capabilities. But most importantly, you were wrong about our willingness to forgive those who betray us. Humanity offered you peace once. You chose war instead. Now, you will live with the consequences." The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, the systematic destruction of alien civilizations continued. Species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years were reduced to scattered survivors in a matter of days. Commander Park Jin-ho looked at his fleet's next target on the navigation display. 23 species remained to be eliminated. The work was not yet finished, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had learned a valuable lesson about the cost of appearing weak in a hostile galaxy. They would never make that mistake again. 1 year later, Ambassador Jinwoo Park stood before the remnants of what had once been the Galactic Council. The Great Hall was nearly empty now. Where 47 proud species had once sat in judgment of humanity, only 12 broken survivors remained. They sat in simple chairs, No longer the rulers of vast empires, but refugees begging for basic survival. The galaxy had been completely transformed. Human ships patrolled every system. Human colonies were being established on the best worlds that had once belonged to alien civilizations. The surviving aliens lived on designated reservation planets, stripped of all technology and space travel capabilities. Honored members of the former Galactic Council, Jinwoo Park began, his voice echoing in the mostly empty hall. 1 year ago, you made a decision about humanity's place in this galaxy. Today, we are here to discuss your place in humanity's galaxy. The Zephyrian representative, one of the few surviving members of her species, spoke with a trembling voice. Ambassador Park, we understand that we made terrible mistakes. We beg for your mercy. Our children are dying. Our worlds are barely habitable. Please, we have learned our lesson. Jinwoo Park looked at her with the same cold expression he had worn during that final vote 3 years ago. Your children are dying because you chose to enslave our children. Your worlds are barely habitable because you forced our people to work in barely habitable conditions. You have learned your lesson. But the price of that education has been paid in the blood of your civilizations. The crystalline representative, his formations dim and cracked, spoke next. We were wrong to underestimate humanity. We admit this. But surely complete extinction is too harsh a punishment for our errors in judgment. Errors in judgment? Jinwoo Park repeated. You did not make errors in judgment. You made deliberate choices based on careful planning and unanimous agreement. Every species in this galaxy studied humanity for 20 years. You learned our languages, visited our cities, and analyzed our capabilities. Then, you voted unanimously to enslave us because you believed we were weak enough to exploit safely. The human ambassador walked slowly around the small circle of surviving aliens. You were not wrong about our military capabilities. When you first arrived, our ships were indeed slower than yours. Our weapons were indeed less advanced. Our military was indeed smaller and less organized than your forces. The Silicon Brotherhood's lone surviving robot spoke in its mechanical voice. Then how did you defeat us so completely? How did humans destroy civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia? Jinwoo Park smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You made the same mistake that every predator makes when hunting humans. You assumed that our apparent weakness was real weakness. You failed to understand that humanity's greatest strength has never been our technology or our military power. He gestured to the displays around the hall that showed human colonies flourishing on former alien worlds. Our greatest strength is our ability to adapt, to plan, and to wait for the right moment to strike. You saw primitive weapons and assumed we could not build better ones. You saw small military forces and assumed we could not organize larger ones. You saw divided nations and assumed we could not unite against a common threat. The reptilian delegate, his scales dull and scarred, hissed softly. We were exactly as weak as we appeared, Jinwoo Park confirmed. But we were also exactly as smart as we appeared, exactly as adaptable as we appeared, and exactly as determined as we appeared. You paid attention to our weaknesses and ignored our strengths. That was your fatal error. Jinwoo Park returned to his position at the front of the hall. When humanity first detected alien signals from space, we faced a choice. We could assume that aliens would be friendly, or we could prepare for the possibility that they might be hostile. We chose to prepare for both possibilities. The displays changed to show images of the underground complexes where humanity's real civilization had developed. While we welcomed you to our surface cities and showed you our public military bases, we were building our real defenses far below ground. Every alien visitor to Earth was carefully studied. Every piece of technology you shared was analyzed for weaknesses. Every cultural exchange provided us with biological and psychological data about your species. The gaseous entity representative floated lower, its form barely maintaining coherence. You were planning to destroy us from the beginning? No, Jinwoo Park replied. We were planning to defend ourselves from the beginning. We hoped that you would prove to be peaceful neighbors. We prepared for the possibility that you might prove to be enemies. When you unanimously voted to enslave us, you proved which one you were. The hall fell silent, except for the quiet sounds of alien breathing and mechanical humming. The weight of their situation was clear to everyone present. They had chosen to attack what they thought was a helpless prey species. Instead, they had awakened a predator that was far more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. What happens to us now? The Zephyrian representative asked quietly. Jinwoo Park consulted his notes. That depends on how your species treated human slaves during the occupation. Species that provided adequate food, medical care, and housing for their human workers have been assigned to Class C reservation worlds. These planets have acceptable climates and sufficient resources for basic survival. He turned to look directly at the Zephyrian representative. Species that were particularly cruel to their human slaves have been assigned to Class D worlds. These planets are barely habitable and require constant effort just to maintain basic survival. The Zephyrian representative's face went pale. And what class are we? Class F, Jinwoo Park replied coldly. The Zephyrians were our allies. You were the species we trusted most. When the vote came, you could have been the one voice speaking for friendship and cooperation. Instead, you cast the deciding vote for our enslavement. You betrayed not just humanity, but the very concept of interspecies friendship. He gestured to the display, which now showed a harsh, frozen world with thin atmosphere and limited resources. Your surviving population has been relocated to Kepler 442c. It is technically habitable, but barely. Your descendants will spend generations just trying to survive. They will have plenty of time to consider the consequences of betrayal. The other alien representatives looked around nervously, wondering about their own fates. Jinwoo Park seemed to read their thoughts. All 47 species that voted for human enslavement will face consequences appropriate to their choices. Some of you will have the opportunity to rebuild your civilizations over time if you can prove that you have truly learned from your mistakes. Others will struggle simply to avoid extinction. A young human officer approached and whispered something to Jinwoo Park. He nodded and turned back to the assembled aliens. Before this session ends, I want you to understand something important. Humanity did not choose this outcome. We offered you friendship, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. You chose to see us as resources to be exploited instead of people to be respected. He walked toward the exit, then turned back one final time. Every species in this galaxy will remember what happened here. They will remember that humanity gave you every opportunity to choose peace, and you chose slavery instead. They will remember that when someone betrays humanity's trust, the consequences are swift, thorough, and permanent. The doors closed behind him, leaving the alien representatives alone in the hall. Outside, human ships continued their patrols of the galaxy. Human colonies grew stronger each day. Human children learned about the species that had tried to enslave them and failed. The galaxy was safer now, because every intelligent species understood a simple truth. Humanity would never again be underestimated, and humanity would never again forgive betrayal. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun.